You are now tuned in to the Dads Who Lift podcast. Please give us a like, share, subscribe to the YouTube account. We are on www.dadswholiftofficial.com. All the podcast links are in there. We also have an apparel line that's taking pre-orders right now. We're on IG as Dads Who Lift Official handle. We're on Facebook, Dads Who Lift Podcast. We also have a Dads Who Lift fitness group on Facebook that's Dads Who Lift Official. A group of 30,000 like-minded dads that are just trying to be their best selves and staying fit. If that's something you're into, please check it out. But we do this stuff for free, guys, so please give us a like, share, 5-star review. We really appreciate your support. On this episode of the Dads Who Live podcast, we talk about the current situation of COVID-19, a fear-based society, and how to stop putting off today's problems for tomorrow. Welcome to the Dads Who Live podcast. You got your host, Tyler Gata.
Joel Staley.
Bryan Hull.
So today, we're going to just kind of banter and bullshit a little bit, but we do have a topic in mind. But I do want to do a little housekeeping stuff, starting to do it in the beginning as well. We do this stuff for free, guys. Please, we need your support to keep doing this. It actually costs us a lot of money to do this and to film it the right way and to give you guys quality here and add value to your lives, which is what we're trying to do. Hopefully we hit that mark. So give us a like, share, subscribe on YouTube. All of our platforms are on dadswholiftofficial.com. So appreciate your support.
There you go.
Yeah, got to get it in the beginning and the end. But so we were kind of bullshitting a little bit pre-recording, and Chad, I'm sure his mic's going to be on during this, and he's just the beginning. This is not our topic, but we have different views on this whole COVID deal. And so I'm sure he's going to chime in, and I'm sure it'll be interesting, so we'll probably disagree a little bit, but we'll disagree like adults, respectfully. But so we've done podcasts on COVID, right? We've done a few podcasts on COVID. And I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, and I will be the first to say that in the beginning, when the facts came out, or I guess they weren't even really facts, but when the media came out and everyone was saying all this stuff about COVID-19 and all these people in China died and all these elderly people in Italy were dying, and, you know, China shut down, Italy shut down, it's on the way over to the U.S., and it was fucking scary. And we did a podcast where we agreed, like, yeah, if it's going to kill millions of people, shut it the fuck down. And I still stand by that. If it's going to kill millions of people and we have everybody susceptible of dying from any disease, I feel like, yeah, great, shut it down. You know what I mean? Like, everybody wants to live. Nobody wants to die. That's my biggest fear is death. I think that's everybody's biggest fear is death. But now we're to this point to where, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I'm starting to feel like this COVID-19 is bullshit. And the death rate's not what it was. It's not what they said in the beginning. There's asymptomatic patients that don't even get tested. So, like, now they're saying the death rate's closer to the flu, regardless, even through the people that have been tested. But I think that's even skewed because there's millions of people that had it that didn't even get tested because they didn't even know they had it because they haven't even had symptoms. And so, like, if you were to actually test everybody in America and add that rate into the actual rate, I think the death rate would be lower than the flu. And it's like, we shut down the whole fucking country. There's people that there's businesses that are bankrupt. There's businesses that'll never be back again. You know what I mean? Like, the world's never going to be the same. There's people that have lost their jobs. I'm sure there's people that have lost their houses over this stuff. I don't even think the fallout's all the way done. You know, we have one stimulus check from the government, and you know, you're just now seeing GNCs claiming bankruptcy, and all these a lot of big corporations are going under. And I think that's going to ripple effect into people losing their houses. I know there was a lot of people that were forgiving, like, rent and stuff like that for home living too during all this stuff. And whenever that stuff ends, people are going to be fucked. You know what I mean? And it's like, in the beginning, I get it. I understand why we did this. I understand that the fear and that the facts looked like it was this big bad thing. But now, when we realize that it's not this big bad thing, how come people can't? Why are we still moderately open?
Yeah, my wife's working from home, and they don't even have, like, an end date in sight. It's been months and months and months. Nobody at her company has gotten, like, one person did have COVID or was in contact with someone with COVID, but, like, literally, even now that the facts are coming out that it is more like the flu than this plague we thought it was, they're still not, like, back to work. So it's pretty crazy.
There's schools that are talking about only having certain grades go twice a week this year. Like, you know, 1 through 2 or whatever, or 3 or whatever will go Mondays and Tuesdays, and the other ones will go Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Really?
Yeah, there's districts talking about that. And it's like, so we're still not fully open. We're still like going with this and changing society, and I just don't realize for what. And I know Chad, we talked about this before, and Chad feels like, why not be safe? It's going to help everybody else. My take on it is if 99.9% of society is fine from this and we're not going to die, why does 99.9% of the society have to change the way that they live? If you are compromised and you are elderly, or you have autoimmune issues, or you have underlying issues with health, you should quarantine yourself. That's my opinion.
Or if you work with, like, my brother and sister-in-law, they're both PTs and they have to go see a bunch of elderly people all day. So if they did get it, then so they have to wear like a mask, a face shield. That makes sense. But if I'm going to like the grocery store, or even like Menards right now, if you want to pick up some lumber or some windows or anything, you need to wear a mask. Costco's the same way. It's like, get the fuck out of here with that.
In 2019, 34,000 people died from the flu in a full year. In 4 months, 130,000 people have died from COVID.
From COVID or with COVID? Because that's another thing that's coming up.
Complications from. It's the same thing. You don't die from the flu. You die from the heart attack that causes the flu.
No, that's not what I'm saying. So they were marking so they could get funding. If you had COVID and you got hit by a semi-truck, but you had COVID, then they were marking it as a COVID death. So they could get the funding.
I don't know if that's a fact.
That is a fact. The CDC are those CDC numbers? Because the CDC actually came out a few weeks back and skewed their numbers back. They're at their actual death rate back. Like if you look at heart disease is like the number one killer, right? In America. Heart disease during COVID-19, the rates dropped.
They all went down.
They were like non-existent. Like there was no more heart disease deaths because they were all labeled COVID deaths. So, and hospitals were getting more money if
right, but you can live with heart disease for 50 years if you want. But if you have heart disease and get COVID, and then die, it's because COVID shortened your life. That's the point.
That's not what he's saying. He's saying that every year, say like, and I'm going to be probably millions off here, but say every year, 100,000 people die from heart disease. Every year after year. 2016, 17, 18, 19. Well, now 2020, now it's like 20,000 people and an extra 80,000 people into COVID.
That's the point. I'm with you. I understand that, but the people that have died from heart disease that previously, pre-COVID, that were dying from heart disease were dying from heart disease, as opposed to the people, the extra people that are dying also of heart disease. They're dying early. I mean, it's shortening their livability with those things. It's heightening. It's sort of like what steroids do. They heighten everything, and that's what COVID's like. The anti. It basically takes your underlying issues and makes them deadly. Now, I don't necessarily have any underlying issues, but I don't want to give it to somebody that does. So, I mean, that's just how I personally feel.
Yeah, but if there's 100,000 deaths a year from, and these are just numbers I'm just throwing out, I don't have the facts in front of me, but say there's 100,000 deaths a year from heart disease, right? If this year there's only labeled 20,000 deaths from heart disease, there was going to be 100,000 deaths this year from heart disease regardless. Those people were going to die this year from heart disease.
But they could have tested positive for...
But if they tested positive for COVID-19 and they were going to die from heart disease regardless, like the stats are the stats, there was 100,000 people that were going to die from heart disease. They were going to die from heart disease regardless, but they tested positive for COVID-19 upon death, then that was labeled a COVID-19 death, even though they may not have died from COVID-19. They were going to be a statistic and die from heart disease anyways. That's what I'm saying.
Well, let's agree to disagree.
You can look at it any way you want, but my whole point is if I'm not trying to get anybody sick. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm not trying to kill anybody. There has been a lot of elderly people and a lot of people that have died from this, and that sucks. I mean, I'm not trying to say that, I don't want anybody to die. That's not my point. But my point is that we're doing so much damage to society. We're doing so much damage to our economy and to people's lives. just so that we can keep a few that are elderly or compromised healthy. And I think it should be the other way
I'll agree
around.
to disagree with you on this, and that's fine. But I can't pass my heart disease to you, but I can pass my COVID to you. That's
Right.
the major difference, and that's the fear. That's not the. I'm not worried. It doesn't change my life. I just figured if I can take one little precaution, then I will. But I can't take my heart disease and pass it to you. But if I go to the grocery store or whatever,
It's
dude,
a big precaution. You're wearing a bra on your face right now. You have to at all times.
but here's the thing. You got a mask on right now, and I'm not trying to call you out to be a dick, but you got a mask on right now. It's not an N95 mask.
No.
I've watched you pull it up over your nose 100 times so far in 30 minutes, which means you're touching your face. That mask is doing absolutely zero. It's doing nothing. If you want to wear an N95 mask and not touch your face and hand sanitize constantly, absolutely.
Stay indoors, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to do that to help save people or not spread this disease, that's fine. But those masks don't do jack shit, and you're touching your face all over the place, which spreads it anyways. So it's like, what's the whole point? There's people wearing bandanas. What's a bandana going to do? To walk in a Menards, you have to wear a bandana? I mean, what's a bandana over your face? I saw a picture the other day of those exact masks that you're wearing, Chad, getting made in like Thailand. And it was like this fucking sweatshop where they're just running millions of these masks through these nasty ass looking sewing machines in this nasty ass looking like little room. Everything's dirty, and these things they're running so many through that they're just overflowing onto the floor, and they're just piled up on the floors like before they actually fold them and ship them. And it's all just disgusting. Like, it's not even clean. So like, who's to say that mask doesn't come out of the box already with bacteria and contamination on it, you know?
it's not perfect.
There's so many
not
things that
perfect.
you can say about this, and I'm not trying to like call anybody out. Everyone can have their own opinions. That's fine. All that I'm saying is that if 99.9% of the population is not going to be affected by this, 99.9% of the population does not need to change their lives. The 0.01 or whatever the fuck it is that's going to be affected should be the ones quarantining. If you're worried about it, you should be quarantining, not the rest of us.
This is the first time ever everyone's been quarantined.
Yeah, ever. My office manager's son right now has COVID-19. He went to graduation, right? And they didn't do they were supposed to, everyone was supposed to wear masks, and they were supposed to distance or whatever. And most of them didn't. Like, the principal even apologized afterwards because he was shaking everybody's hand and all the kids were hugging. And, he went to a graduation party afterwards, and I'm sure they were all getting fucked up and, a bunch of kids all next to each other. Anyways, one kid ended up testing positive for COVID. So all these kids that were around him at that graduation had to get tested. My office manager's son has COVID-19, was no symptoms, just had to get tested because someone else did. 19 of those kids from graduation have it. The worst symptom that anybody has is they lost smell and taste, and that's it. There's not even like a runny nose, no fever. Nobody's had over a 99-degree temperature. Lost taste of smell and taste, and that's it. And Kim, my office manager, her and her husband had to quarantine at home because they've been around him, even though they went and got tested, and they don't even have it. So they've been in the house with him for 2 weeks now, and they still don't even have it, even though they're in the house with a COVID-19 positive person. I mean, that tells you right there that it probably doesn't spread that easily. You know what I mean? Or at least if you're asymptomatic, which he's basically asymptomatic, it doesn't spread that easily.
There's just so much contradicting info out too. It's
Exactly. I go off of people I know. I mean, there's a girl here in town that has it. Same thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know who I'm talking about.
And I told my wife, I was like, oh, every fucking guy in town has it now.
That's fucked up. But that's the exact same thing. You know what I mean? And she's completely fine. I've had employees that have got it. We talked about that in another podcast. They were fine. They said it was just like the cold. I mean, everybody I know, and again, I know there's people that have died from this. I'm not trying to be an insensitive asshole. What I'm saying is that the majority is fine. The majority it's not affecting. So in my personal opinion, the majority should be able to live their lives like they normally should.
Yeah,
That's
we
it.
completely tanked the economy. It's like I know suicide rates are up. Economy's in the shitter for a lot of people. People have worked their whole lives to build this business, and through no fault of their own, now they can't run it. It's shut down. So, I mean, I totally get when it was first coming out. It's new. You want to be safer than sorry, and you want to make sure people are safe, especially when it's a disease and you don't know what the fuck it is. But now that the numbers are really coming out, and it was going to be millions and millions of people, then hundreds of thousands, then tens of thousands, then like it just keeps getting lower. It's like, at what point are you going to say, all right, these people take extra precaution, quarantine yourself if need be, but we got to get this.
That's what I feel. I feel like shit should all be opened up right now. Like everything should be opened up. That's just my personal opinion. And one more story, and then I want to get on to the topic. But you were on a Navy ship. Mm-hmm. I've got a client of mine that his son is was on a Navy ship. And this was probably 2 months ago when I talked to him. But that Navy ship got hit with COVID. And like 75% of the ship like had COVID-19, got tested with COVID. And so they had all these guys quarantined for like they were crazy. Like they made them quarantine for like 2 weeks, I think. Then they had to retest. And if they still had it, they had to quarantine for another week and then retest, something like that, till they were negative. But he said, he talked to his son daily when he was quarantined, and this was hundreds of people that had this off this Navy vessel, and his son said that nobody had symptoms. Same thing, that out of hundreds of people that were on that Navy ship. And again, these are younger, healthy people. But he said the exact same thing. The worst symptom they had was loss of smell and taste. And that's crazy.
That comes back, right?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Not like,
it goes back.
I know a guy that fell off a ladder. He's in construction. He fell off a ladder and hit his head. And he's never gotten his taste or smell back.
That's crazy.
It's nuts.
But so this goes right into the topic. That was just kind of a whim. I feel like...
And let us know if you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook. Let us know in the comments if you think we're full of shit or if you agree with us, because I know it is polarizing, but
you can look at it so many different ways, but this is my opinion. But I know a lot of people, because of this, like you had mentioned, suicide rates have gone up. I know a lot of people that are struggling, and they continue to struggle. And now we're talking about what states are going back into shutdown?
Texas, Dallas specifically. I think California is starting to shut down.
Florida, you said?
Florida is shutting down.
God damn it. I'm supposed to go to Miami again next month. And I was supposed to go right like a week before COVID hit. I've always wanted to go to Miami. I signed up with this business coach because he has a mastermind in Miami every other month.
Nice.
And now, I missed 3 of them. It's finally supposed to happen next month, and now Miami's
get on vacation
hot spot
too
again.
But so we got the second wave going on. People are states are starting to or people are saying they're going to shut down again. I don't know if they technically are all the way yet. But I know that a lot of people are feeling like they're stuck. A lot of people are in a rut. Suicide rates are up. A lot of people are just... I think this is a new territory that nobody's really been in. And like you said, we've never been, as a society, completely quarantined. And I know a lot of people are depressed. I know depression's up. I know a lot of people are struggling and feeling like, what do they do, or what's their purpose, or where do they go? And so that kind of brings us into our topic. And the whole topic point for me is that I've been seeing it in my own life, and in my own companies, is that people are, I just see it over and over, to where people are putting things off constantly. Like there's no, I don't know if it comes down to structure or what, but I see it's this whole, there's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. Oh, I didn't get to that. I can get to it tomorrow. Oh, we got this and this done, but not this, but it's all right. We'll get it later, And then the problem is that, you say, okay, well, we'll grab that tomorrow morning, right? I don't want to work late tonight. We didn't get it done, so I'll grab that tomorrow morning. Then tomorrow morning, one guy in the company doesn't show up, and everybody's scrambling around and trying to cover for him. And then it turns into, oh, well, we'll get it tomorrow again when we're full staffed. Then something else happens, and it's tomorrow, and it's tomorrow, and it's tomorrow, and these things just never fucking happen. And I am really trying to set this tone within my company, and you can put this to anything: your personal life, your family, between you and your spouse. I mean, this can relate to anything, but I've seen it in my company, so that's the way I'm going to portray it. But I'm trying to set this culture up in my company to where we are not putting things off; they get done now. And people don't realize that, putting shit off gives, at least for me, putting shit off gives me anxiety. I get anxiety when I put things off. Like, especially if it's something that I know I need to do. You get that feeling inside like, oh man, I need to do that.
Oh yeah.
But you decide, oh no, I'm not going to do it, or I can get to it tomorrow, whatever. The whole fucking time I'm sitting there thinking about that. Maybe not like constantly, but it keeps popping into my mind periodically throughout the day until I do it. And that gives me anxiety, and that fucks up my quality of life. And the crazy thing is if you were to actually just say fuck it and do it, it usually takes like 5 or 10 minutes.
That's how I am with updating workouts, man. It's like I used to do them on Sunday night, and all of Sunday it would be in the back of my mind. So I'm just like enjoying myself, not really doing anything, just chilling. But every few minutes to every hour, I'm thinking, yeah, but I still got to update workouts.
Yep.
And then when I just switch it to the morning, there's a book called Eat the Frog, where it basically says like map out all your tasks for the day and then pick the biggest, hairiest fucking frog, like the nastiest thing you got to do, and do that first. And that way you build the momentum for the rest of your day. And like you're saying, it's not in the back of your head like, oh, fuck, but I still got to do that. It makes a huge difference as opposed to just putting it off.
Right.
For sure. So I've been doing this, and because I've been guilty of it too. I'll put things off, and then I do notice it gives me anxiety, and I'll carry that anxiety until I do it. So regardless, like, now there's something to be said for trying to get too much done in a day too, right? So like, I feel like set yourself up for success, not failure. So there's days where I do the power list every day, right? And I've talked about this before, but there's a lot of days where like I'll put like 10 things on my power list, which is probably not very sustainable. And then I get pissed off and, down on myself and overwhelmed or anxious when I don't get those 10 things done. So don't try to bite off too much. But there's another example, right? Like, so last weekend I went to my cabin and ended up having some drinks Saturday night. And so Sunday, my Ranger, my UTV broke down Saturday night, not because I was out being a dumbass, but just the belt went out in it. So, but I didn't even have a trailer up at the cabin. I got to get it back because this weekend's 4th of July weekend. Everybody's going to be out there, so I have to have it ready and fixed for this weekend. And so Sunday's just turned into a clusterfuck. I'm kind of hungover. My Ranger's broke. I don't have a trailer up there. Like, for me to drive home and get a trailer and come back, just to come back is like 3 hours. Plus, then I got to drive another hour and a half back. So I get my buddy to let me borrow his trailer. I get this thing up. I get the cabin cleaned. There's all kinds of shit that's going on. So usually I'm back Sunday by like 1 or 2 o'clock at home. And I like that. It's like my chill day. I get the rest of the time to prep my food and do my laundry and unpack and, get ready for the week. Prepare myself mentally, lay on the couch for a little bit, relax. It's kind of my relaxing day. And so this day I didn't get home. This last Sunday I didn't get home till like 6 o'clock. So I'm already pissed off. I'm hungover. I'm drained. But I got the Ranger back. I unload it. I unpack. I do the laundry. And I get my food prepped. And I lay down on the couch. And I got this pile of laundry sitting on the laundry room floor. And it's clean laundry, right? But it's sitting on the floor, like hasn't been folded or put away or whatever. And I just keep walking past it the whole night. And I lay on the couch for a minute.
That sucks. And it wears on you.
It does. So I lay on the couch for a minute and I'm like, oh, fuck it. It's been a day. You'll get it later. You'll get it tomorrow. But I keep walking past it. And every time I walk past it, I get a little bit of anxiety. I'm like, oh, motherfucker, that pile of laundry. God damn it. And it just keeps wearing on me. So finally, and I'm thinking about my week too. This week for 4th of July, I'm trying to take Friday off. So I got this week like planned out to a T so that I can get all my shit done so I can have Friday off, and have an extended weekend for the 4th of July. So I'm like, oh man, but when am I going to be able to do it tomorrow? I've got this and this going. So finally I'm like, man, I've spent more time worrying and thinking about this than it would take to actually just do it.
The laundry's a perfect example.
Yeah.
It literally happened to me this morning.
Yeah. So I got up and I fucking did it and I put it away and there was a bunch of wrinkled fucking clothes. I had to, get a wet towel and throw back in the dryer. That's my trick. But I got it all done and put away and I went to bed that night and I felt great. I didn't have any more anxiety about it. And it sounds dumb as fuck because it's just laundry. But that's with anything, man. Anything that's on your mind that you just keep popping up and thinking about, like it takes you spend more energy and time thinking about it and worrying about it than it will take for you to just do it. I guarantee it.
So what do you recommend people do? I think you already talked about the power list. That's huge because just putting it down on paper and getting the satisfaction of crossing it off when you do it. I know for me especially, like even having a workout on my phone or written down that I have to go through and check off as I go, compared to just going to the gym and doing whatever I feel like. Just the gratification you get from checking that shit off is like enough to make me want to do it. But besides that, like, what do you recommend?
I say there's no like secret to it, man. You just push yourself and fucking do it. It's either, either sit there in anxiety and feel that, or get done with it and feel a release, you know? And like I tell my guys, it's like, it makes that whole next day so much better. When you can start that day fresh and not have to add your previous day onto the list of your next day, it makes it so much easier and better, because every single one of my days is full. So if I don't get something done from the previous day and I have to add it on to the next day, then that day becomes a little bit more stressful. You know what I mean? So I think there's no magic marker, no special thing to this. I think it's just being aware of it. I think it's just seeing it and being aware of it, that you're not trying to, you want to get as much done on a daily basis so that you're not adding to the bullshit of the next day.
I think it's a mindset change, really.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to attack the day type of thing, rather than like, let's put it off. And then, by like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you have a shit ton of stuff to do. Every day you're chipping away at everything that you need to get done. I
agree. And you had tell your fear story with that Will Smith video.
Oh yeah. So,
cause it ties right into this. It's great.
Yeah. So I don't know if I can word it as good as I did yesterday.
He was high as fuck yesterday.
Yes, I was. So we were talking about podcast ideas, and, he was talking about, what was it? Like tomorrow, putting stuff off till tomorrow and stuff like that.
Yeah. This whole topic.
Yep. And then, so instantly, as soon as he started talking, I remembered that Will Smith fear speech. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I don't think so. Refresh me.
So he's basically talking about, he was having some drinks with some friends and stuff like that, and somebody was like, let's go skydiving tomorrow, and they're
if
like,
you
yeah,
haven't
let's
seen
go.
the video, you should watch. It's hilarious.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do it justice, but Will Smith is amazing in the video. Anyways, he's talking about going to sleep that night. He like sobers up and he's like, shit, I'm gonna have to go skydiving tomorrow, and then he's hoping that, everybody else is drunk, they're just full of it, so the next morning comes around and he realizes
he couldn't get to sleep though. He's sitting there worried about it all night. He lays down in bed and he's like, oh fuck, I gotta go skydiving. And then he's like, they were all drunk too. Hopefully no one's gonna follow through.
Right.
No big deal. But he's sitting there worried about it all night long.
Yeah, and then the next morning he goes down. I think they're like at a hotel or something like that. He goes down to the hotel and realizes that everybody's geared up, ready to roll. So he's kind of like shooting himself, like, oh my god. So they end up going.
That'd be like me and you, man. I'd be sitting there going, he's drunk now. He ain't gonna remember. And you'd be like, oh, I'm not backing out first. So you'd be there ready to go in the morning. I'd be like, oh fuck, we're really gonna do this. Okay.
So he's talking about, getting up in the plane. They're going higher and higher and higher. And then, the door opens, and then he's talking about how like, oh shit, I've never been in a plane with the door open. And then at that moment,
he talks about
freak out.
Before that, he's like, the instructor's giving all the instructions, and they say, like, hey, this is what you do if your chute doesn't open. And he's like, why the fuck wouldn't the chute open?
Right.
What do you mean if the chute doesn't open?
Right.
So he's like getting psyched out. And then, he gets up there and he's like, you get this moment where you realize you've never been in a plane with the fucking door open. Why is the door open?
Right. And and then there's a like a stoplight, red to yellow to green. Green meaning that it's going to open up, the door's going to open. So it goes green, the door opens, and then, you're next up, and he says that you're like 1 second away from being pushed out. And he said at that very second, you're in the most fear that you've ever had. And then they push you, and 1 second later, within that 1 second, it's the most blissful moment of your life. So it takes all that fear to get to the most blissful. So it's like, you're at the top one side, 1 second later, you're at the bottom, and vice versa type of thing. But as soon as I was talking to Tyler about today's podcast theme, I just thought of that, and I'm like, wow, years later, I watched that 3 or 4 years ago.
Yep.
And like, man, it's so like motivating, really. And that for me, it just correlates with what we're trying to say here.
And that's the thing. He says, so it's like the most fear in your life, and then you jump out and you realize that you're falling, but and I've never been skydiving, but this is the way he puts it. You're falling, but you're really not falling. You know, the air is kind of holding you up, and it's just so blissful and so peaceful and so crazy. And he goes into, he says, as soon as I got back to the ground, all I could think about is, why was I so scared the night before?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, why was I living in fear before it happened? It makes no sense to live in fear before something happens. He's like, if I didn't want to do it, you just don't fucking do it. You know, you don't have to sit there and be scared about it. If I don't want to do it, just don't fucking do it. You know, there's 0 point for me to live that fear before it actually happens. When I'm about ready to jump out, if it's normal to have fear, live that fear, until you jump out, and it's great. But living in your head is what he's talking about, is that whole night before where he couldn't sleep, was restless, he was creating fear in his own mind. And we do that. Everybody does that constantly. And that's the whole thing with living in anxiety, living in fear, living in anxiety, putting shit off. It's like, what you need to do to feel good. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has this internal deal going on through their body, and some people are more in tune to it than others. Mm-hmm. But everybody knows, like, there's something inside you that you have a calling. It's like, oh fuck, I should really do that. There's other things where it's like, that really doesn't matter. Maybe it is something that doesn't matter. And this isn't, so don't fucking worry about that thing. But those things that are like, everybody feels it inside. I'm like, oh man, it's bothering me. I need to get this done. Just fucking do it.
Yeah, I agree. That's always happened to me when I have to give like a speech or talk in front of people. I build it up in my head. I fucking stress about it for weeks or days, depending on how much notice I have. And then once you get up there, it's like, oh, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, why was I freaking out about this the whole time?
Yep.
So I think that does happen to everyone.
But I've noticed so this whole week, because like I said, I've been victim to this too, and I've done this myself. But this whole week, I've been not putting anything off that's important to me. I've been getting it done. Like, the things that bother me, I've been just making sure that I get done. Like, even last night, this week's actually been pretty good for my mental state. You know what I mean? But yesterday, for whatever reason, was just one of those days that was just a fucking mentally draining day. Just one of those days where I just felt low vibration, low frequency all day long. And just one of those days where you just have to like struggle through the day to get shit done. Just no real motivation, just having to push myself to do everything. And it was a late day at work. So I don't get done, from work. I think it was like 7:30 or something when I finally got done and was ready for dinner. And so I opened up the fridge and I realized I'm out of fucking rice. I'm out of eggs. I hard boil like 24 eggs at a time because I eat 3 a day. Like, I'm out of eggs. I'm out of rice. I don't have rice for dinner. I eat rice and chicken every night for dinner. And I'm sitting there going in my mind about what I can substitute. And I'm like, And then I'm like, man, I don't want to fucking prep tonight. And I really don't want to cook eggs. I hate cooking eggs.
You can buy them hard boiled already.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where?
Hy-Vee,
Costco.
Walmart, Costco,
shit.
everywhere. And they're not even
I am
much more expensive.
Yeah.
No
If
shit.
you're sitting there cracking them shits, that's the worst.
That
You
is
just
the worst.
buy them
God.
already made in like a pre-made bag of 8.
Fucking game changer. I
Yeah,
feel like
it
it's
really
hard
is.
right now.
It is.
Man. All right. Well, I'm doing that from here on out. But so last night I'm like, man, I don't want to do any of this shit. I just want to lay on the couch, fucking veg out. I want to substitute my healthy ass fucking rice and chicken for maybe some pizza or something and just veg out. But I didn't. I fucking cooked my rice. I got my rice cooked. I put the fucking eggs in the pan because here was the whole deal. I was like, all right, today was a long day. Maybe today's an exception. Maybe I can treat myself because you got to find a happy medium. If it's been a long day, you got to have relax and rest as well. And so I'm just trying to talk to myself about this exception. And I'm like, all right, well, tomorrow I'm shooting a podcast in the morning. I got a full day, and then my buddy Pete's in town from New York, so they're coming over at 6 for shish kebabs, grilling shish kebabs and potatoes, and they're going to be there till 8 or 9. And I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm going to fit in cooking eggs, So it's like, well, time to cook some eggs.
Time to cook some eggs.
So I got it done.
So what about so this is one topic for folding the laundry, meal prepping, all these things that you should do. But what about in the same sense of people who've been talking about starting a business or starting a hobby?
That's
or
a
all
great
these things for
perspective, man.
months and months, years and years. So like, what would you recommend to those people who keep putting shit off? And I was like that with jiu-jitsu. I talked about it for like 6 months. And then finally I'm like, after looking at my morning manifesto every morning, it's like, Joel's a black belt in BJJ. Like, I haven't even fucking gone to my first class yet. So like, you can only read that so many times before you're like, all right, well, I'm going to sign up for my first class. So at least I can say I did that. So how's that differ?
Well, I mean, I think for a starting point, you just said part of it right there, right? Is write down, know what you want out of life, know what you want to do. If you call it a manifest or whatever you want to call it, I mean, write down how you see your future. Maybe it takes you looking at it for a month before you actually do it, but eventually you'll do it, you know? And, starting a business, putting things off, like success wise, I feel like a lot of it does just come down to mindset and perspective. And a lot of it just takes kind of looking outside yourself. Like, I try to get into deep conversations nowadays when I talk to people, especially new people. I love to just talk deep shit. And so I always ask people, like, what do you do for work? And they'll tell me their job, right? And I'll say, if you could do anything in the world, what would you do? What's your dream job? And it's always different than the job that they're doing. Like, almost every time it's different. And so I had a person ask me that back. And I was like, So, you get it put back on you. And my whole thing is like, I'm not completely doing my dream job yet. I've still got other companies out that are not my dream job, but it's just what I've always done from day one, my main company, and it makes me great money. But I'm poising myself. I'm in a change. I'm poising myself with that company to use that company and that money to get to other places of where I want to be, like real estate, like this podcast, like motivational speaking, like putting money into, the group and the podcast so that we can grow this group. That's my true, that's how I feel my true calling. And it's funny because I was talking to my life coach about this, and remember I talked to you last week and I said, all right, so we used to shoot podcasts where we'd shoot like 2 or 3 at a time. And so we'd build them up so they were all ready to go, and it makes perfect sense. But then we would have like 2 or 3 weeks where we did not shoot podcasts. And there's a couple reasons why we stopped doing that. Now we're shooting 1 a week if possible. 1, so that they're more current, so that we can be more current with times when we're dropping 1 basically a week after we shoot it, not 3 weeks after we shoot it. And 2, I just realized that I am so much happier and in a better state of mind and gratitude, not just for the day I shoot the podcast, but the whole fucking week. When I shoot podcasts, I am in such a better state of mind and happier and in just a happier state the whole week long. And so I was explaining this to my, and that's another reason why we're going to shoot one once a week now. And so I was explaining this to my life coach, and he was like, and I didn't even see it, but he's like, so what does that tell you? And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, podcasts are like therapy. I feel good after I shoot a podcast. He's like, no, what does that tell you though? And I was like, I'm happy after I shoot podcasts. And he's like, no, man, what does that tell you? And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. That's my calling. Like that's what I'm doing that makes me happy. That's your calling. You know what I mean? So am I where I want to be yet? No, but I'm poising myself to get to that place. And I do not feel like I have any limits. I feel like I can do whatever I want. Now, it's not going to fucking happen overnight like I wish it could. I wish I could just stop doing this and sell everything and go 100% into that. A lot of times it's not how it works, but I'm at least heading in that direction. And
you said another thing besides just writing it down is something we both believe in, and I don't think you used to fully, but it's get a coach to hold you accountable.
100%.
Because it's been like months and months and months since I've sent out an email, because typically my days are booked already with calls. So if I send out an email for people to schedule a call, it doesn't really matter. There's no space for them to book, but you still want to be in front of people. So it was actually my coach that recently called me out. Like, dude, I haven't seen an email from you in forever. It's like, it's been in the back of my mind. I know I should be doing it, but I almost need him to call me out and see other people are noticing. So that's another thing, is see where you want to be. Find a coach or mentor that can help you get there. It's going to help hold you accountable and give you the knowledge you need to be successful. And then invest in that or work with them. And I think that's huge too.
I feel like everybody needs somebody to hold them accountable. Like, So me with my employees, I'm the leader, I'm the owner of the company. I'm there to hold them accountable. So, it's just Fridays we get back at half day every Friday. Or I try to structure the week so that they're done with the actual week and they get back, 2 or 3 hours early every Friday, and then we can maintenance the equipment, wash the equipment, the trucks, the shop, get everything clean and ready for Monday. That way we can start with a fresh start. The last 2 Fridays in a row, I've given them a list of things to do, and Fridays are my complete office days. So I do all my accounting, reconciling, get checks in, payroll, all that shit on Fridays. So Fridays are my most stressful days usually, and I'm just in the office all day long. And so I give them this list of stuff to do every Friday. And 2 Fridays in a row, the whole list hasn't got done. I'll come back in there Monday morning, and it's like, oh, we didn't get to this, or we didn't get to this. But every single time they told me, hey, it's 100% done. You know what I mean? So this is what I'm talking about, and it carries all the way through. So like every Monday morning I've had a talk with them, and I explain to them. So Monday morning, instead of just letting that stuff slide, like, oh, we just didn't get to it, this Monday morning I made them do it all that morning.
Run laps.
No, but I made them finish it all that morning. And so we were like an hour late getting out of the shop that morning to our jobs. And I told them all, I said, all right, now you guys are going to work an hour late tonight, and we're going to get the same amount of work done. So everybody had to work an hour late that night. And I explained to them, I said, listen, guys, there's 15 guys here. If everybody would have just done this, if everybody would have actually just got this done on Friday when everything was out and everything was ready and everybody was already doing shit, it would have taken you an extra 15 minutes. You would have went home an extra 15 minutes later to actually get this done the correct way. Now, when we're back here Monday morning and everything's put away and we have to start from scratch to get that same 15 minutes done, it took an hour.
My lawn was mowed late on Monday.
Yeah.
Now it makes sense.
Yep.
Full circle. All right.
So,
Nice.
But it's like I'm trying to explain to them that these little things matter, and it will affect the next day and the next day and the next day. So to me, it's part of being productive, and it's part of being the best person that you can be and getting the most out of life. And I agree with you that everybody has to have somebody to hold them accountable. So I hold my employees accountable, but I need somebody to hold me accountable too, which is my coach and my buddies. I choose to surround myself with a group of people that are like-minded and that are doing some aspect of life better than I am. You know what I mean? And so every single one of them, I can, say something and they'll call me out on some type of little bullshit. And that's great. It doesn't have to be, if you don't have the money to hire a coach and you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on a coach, that's fine. But surround yourself with people that are going to call you out on your bullshit and are going to want to see you grow and grow with you and are going to push you towards that, because everybody has to have somebody to hold them accountable. Like I'm a pretty fucking self-motivated guy, but even me, even myself is going to fall back at some point and be worthless. You know what I mean? Or not get this done or not get that done.
The best streak I had for waking up at 5 a.m. is when we had $100 on the line, and every day that alarm would go off, I'd be like, I'm not paying that motherfucker $100. So I'd get up. And it was literally it was like the next day after you were like, all right, we're not really doing that. Fucking haven't seen 5 o'clock since. So yeah, it's true, man. 100%.
So I don't want to keep carrying this out. I think we've said a lot of good things, but I will end with this, and if you guys have any ending comments, you can too. But my last comment is that balance. And I think that balance is, I mean, you could probably end every single podcast and topic on balance. I think balance is the biggest thing in life to try to manage and figure out where your balance is and your happy medium is. Don't be sitting there killing yourself over not getting your power list completely done, or not getting your 10 things done, or getting everything done that you feel like you need to get done in a day. I mean, there is something to be said for rest, and recharge and being bright, bushy-tailed and ready for the next day. This topic is more towards the shit that you can get done, know you have to get done, but you put off and procrastinate on. You know what I mean? It's not like, there's only 24 hours in a day. I've got to give so many of those hours to myself, my fitness, my companies, my son. Those are all my priorities, right? I've only got so many hours in a day, and if something doesn't fit into those hours, then that's fine, as long as I prioritize and I got all the main things done, But those little things that creep up on you that you just know that you need to get done and that make you feel like shit every day that you don't get them done, That's what I'm talking about. And those are usually things that are important to you, you know? So yeah, balance. Make sure that you're not killing yourself over this stuff, just burning yourself out, trying to be crazy productive 24/7. But I know, and I can feel when there's that little burning sensation inside me that this needs to get done. You know what I mean? And I also know when it's like, that's not that big of a deal. If it gets done next week, it can get done next week, you know? So this is more about, you have to look into yourself internally, figure out where your priorities lie inside so that you can be mentally stable, or I don't know how to say it, so that you can be happy inside with yourself and your progress in life, so that you're not living in anxiety and adding to anxiety. Mm-hmm. And in that, you're going to be more productive as well in every aspect of your life, really.
Yeah, I'll only add, I know we've beaten into the ground the power of a to-do list, which it is that important, but I would also add, if you find yourself not getting stuff done or just not being as productive as you'd like, make a not to-do list too. Like whether it's you find yourself on the couch watching Netflix idea. For 2 hours a day, YouTube, like having a 6-pack of beer every night, smoking weed. I bring this up because
cocaine and strippers,
like the weed thing specifically, I will diet, I'll work out, I'll be perfect, and then like sometimes at the end of the night I'll be like, I have glaucoma, as you guys know. So then I'll smoke a little bit of weed, and then all of a sudden it's like I get the munchies, and then I'm like, what do I have to snack on? So I literally have to throw it out. It's not in line with where I want to be, fitness goals wise.
Right.
So just putting that on the not to do list. So when it is the end of the day and you're like, I've had kind of a stressful day, I could blaze up a little bit right now. You actively know, like, I wrote that down. I'm not going to do that because it's not in line with my goals. So you can use that for TV. Like I said, a bunch of things.
Just do a Metamucil shake before bed every night. Dude, fills you up. You are not hungry and you're just farting all night long. It's great.
Good advice. Brian,
you got anything you want to add to close?
So yeah, kind of going back to the whole COVID-19 stuff. Everybody's got a lot of different views and stuff like that. For me, I see sides or truth to both sides. Honestly, I feel like everybody does their own research and they believe what they believe. There's a lot of different, information out there, stuff like that. So when I go out, I try to keep that in mind, that people wear masks. People believe that, it's a thing, it's a monster. There's people that don't believe it. Whatever you believe, just be nice to each other, be kind to each other. We're all driven by fear. That's kind of what's going on right now. So just kind of keep that in mind and be nice.
I like it.
So one more thing I do want to add on that reminded me. So when we did start this whole thing, it's all about being low right now with everything going on with COVID. And so I'm sure everybody kind of put these dots together, but the whole point of this is how do you kind of get out of that spot and feel productive, right? So if I feel productive, I'm not going to feel as stuck. If I feel like I'm achieving something, I'm not going to feel depressed. And so that's kind of the whole thing of where I was going to. There's always tomorrow. Well, there's not always tomorrow. Get done what you need to get done today to feel successful, to feel productive. And that's going to brighten your mood and pull you out of this little hole that you're sitting in within itself. I mean, if you're just sitting on the couch all day, we're in quarantine and, I know I need to do this, but no one's really doing anything right now, or I can't go to the pool because the pool's not open. So what do I do? Find another hobby, get something done, move, go outside, go for a walk. I try to get outside for a bike ride every single day. That honestly is one of the, I love the gym, but having that bike ride outside in nature every day is probably my most peaceful and serene part of the day. And it's like an escape, and it releases endorphins. Same with working out in the gym, that releases endorphins. So I get that we're in a place where people don't know what to do, and that people feel hopeless, and that people feel down. But the only person that's going to pull you out of that is you. I'll say that again. The only person that's going to pull you out of that is you. And so you've got to be productive. You've got to figure out what motivates you, what excites you, what your heart likes and loves, and that's the stuff that you need to do. And if you have a burning desire for something inside you, then that's obviously what your passion is, and you need to get that done. So if you're out making shit happen, feeling like you're crushing the days, you're getting your power list done, you're being productive, you're being active, you're making improvements in your life, you're striving to be the best person that you can be daily, there's no fucking way that you can be in a rut and feel like you're stuck because you're moving. You're either moving or you're not moving. And if you're moving, you're not stuck. If you're stuck, you're stuck. So that's what I'll leave with. I want everybody to progress. I want everybody to move forward, and hopefully this helps. So
I love it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for tuning in to the Dads Who Live podcast. Again, we do this stuff for free. It actually costs us a shitload of money to do this stuff. I got to write Chad a big fucking check here right now again for another couple seasons. So please give us some support. Like, share. All of the platforms are on dadswholiftofficial.com. We are also taking pre-orders for apparel at dadswholiftofficial.com. We're on IG. Dads Who Lift Official is our handle. We have a Facebook page, Dads Who Lift Podcast, and then we have a Facebook group, which is Dads Who Lift Official. That's a group of 30,000 guys, like-minded guys that are just trying to be their best selves, be the best fathers they can be, and stay fit at the same time. So if that's your bag, check that out. But please give us a like, share, and follow. We really appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
It's like forever, no surrender. It's forever, this like forever.
I bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive. I bigger dead than alive, dead than alive, yeah. I bigger dead than alive, bigger dead than alive, la la la. Make sure that you know why.